18 years after our divorce, I saw Aiden again at my daughter's parent-teacher conference. She was a senior in high school. The homeroom teacher asked the two of us to stay behind. She slid a letter across her desk, stopping it in front of him. "Mr. Griffin," she said, her tone crisp, "this is a love letter your son wrote to Lily. We're in the final stretch of senior year. A romance now is a serious distraction. I trust you'll have a firm talk with him when you get home." Aiden just stood there, his eyes locked on me, completely frozen. He didn't say a word. The teacher had to clear her throat impatiently before he snapped out of it, stammering apologies. After the meeting, he caught me in the stairwell. He looked like he wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. "Lily, she's your daughter?" he finally managed. I gave a polite, tight-lipped nod. His brow furrowed in disappointment. "But you told me you'd never remarry after we divorced." He was right. On the day we divorced 18 years ago, I swore I would never marry again, never have another child. And I hadn't. Lily was adopted. She wasn't my biological daughter.
But I didn't feel the need to tell him that.
"Mr. Griffin, my life is no longer any of your concern." My voice was sharper now, laced with an impatience I didn't try to hide. 18 years had transformed the dashing boy I once knew into a poised, mature man. But in his eyes, still as handsome as I remembered, a flicker of something I'd never seen before, shame, maybe even regret, crossed his features. "I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to ask if you've been okay all these years." "I've been fine." I cut him off. My gaze shifted past him to the classroom door down the hall. A boy was gently pulling a girl aside, whispering something to her. My frown deepened. Ignoring the voice at my ear, I strode toward them. When Lily saw me, she flinched and called out a flustered, "Mom," tucking her head down like a turtle. The boy, however, was surprisingly composed. He straightened up and bowed slightly. "Hello, ma'am. My name is Leo Griffin." Leo Griffin. A fine name. The perfect fusion of Aiden Griffin and Isabella, I presumed. I whispered the name to myself, then offered a faint smile. I remembered when I was pregnant. Aiden had been ecstatic. He spent an entire night at his desk, poring over names for the 2-month-old life inside me. "If it's a boy," he'd said, "we'll call him Julian. If it's a girl, Julia." Back then, I dreamed that our child, boy or girl, would have his looks and his spirit. And now, looking at his son, I could see the resemblance was uncanny. The boy, Leo, had his father's easy charm and seemed eager to talk, but I had already taken my daughter's arm and was steering her into the river of students flowing down the stairs. I could feel a burning gaze on my back, but I never once looked back. On the drive home, Lily was quiet and withdrawn, her eyes fixed on her lap. She knew the teacher had kept me and Leo's father behind. She could guess why. "It's not going to work out between you two," I said, breaking the silence as we waited at a red light. "End it. I don't want you seeing him anymore." Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wide and already shimmering with tears. "Mom, I promise, it won't affect my grades." "This isn't about your grades." The light turned green. I pressed the accelerator gently, my voice remaining steady and calm. "At your age, a love like this doesn't last. It never ends well." "How can you say that?" Her voice cracked, but for the first time ever, she argued back with such force. "Grandma told me the man you married, he was your high school sweetheart, your first love. If you could do it, why can't I?" I fell silent. The rest of the drive passed in a heavy quiet. I never answered her question. She never asked again. It wasn't until we were home that Lily found her courage again, ready to plead her case. "Mom, Leo is so good to me and I really, really like him. Can't you just stay out of it? I swear I won't let it affect my schoolwork, and I won't do anything reckless." She looked at me, her eyes shining with conviction. "And I know we have a real future together." Girls blinded by their first love all sound the same. Her desperate need to prove the purity of her feelings reminded me of myself, all those years ago, saying the exact same words to my own mother. That Aiden was good to me, that I loved him more than anything, that we would, without a doubt, have a wonderful future together, that I was willing to bet my entire life on him.
But I lost that bet.
I lost everything. Don't be naive. I was just as idealistic as you are now, and you see where it got me. I just don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I sighed, then walked calmly into the kitchen to start dinner. As I rolled up my sleeves, the faint, silvery line of a scar from 18 years ago appeared on my wrist. Lily's eyes fixed on it, her expression instantly softening with pain. Mom,
I'm sorry.
I shouldn't have brought up the past. You've never told me about what happened back then, she said softly. You never wanted to date anyone else or start a new family. I'm older now. Can you tell me what really happened? I want to know. She'd asked me this so many times over the years. I always brushed it off, saying I'd forgotten, that it was all a distant memory. But as she asked again today, I realized that every detail, every word from 18 years ago was etched into my mind as if it were yesterday. After a moment's hesitation, I began to tell her the story I had locked away for nearly 2 decades. Aiden and I met during our senior year of high school, too. Young love is a wildfire. Back then, Aiden was even more reckless than his son. He was relentless, bringing me breakfast every morning, throwing a punch when anyone dared call me poor, and shamelessly slipping me love letters he'd stayed up all night to write. His craziest stunt was grabbing the microphone from the principal during a school-wide assembly and declaring his love for me in front of everyone. The sun was blinding that day, and he seemed to glow under it. Just like that, Aiden and I were a couple. A week before our final exams, Aiden got into a fight with a boy from another class. It was in a blind spot for the security cameras. When the boy turned his back, Aiden lunged and broke the guy's leg. When the police came asking questions, I gritted my teeth and confessed. I said I did it. I was detained for 10 days and I missed my college entrance exams. Hearing this, Lily's face flushed with anger. So, that's why you only have a high school diploma? You took the fall for him and missed your finals. And him? He just went off and took the exams without a second thought. I shook my head gently. When Aiden first found out I'd confessed for him, he wanted to turn himself in. But his parents threatened to kill themselves, forcing him to stay. He had no choice but to take the exams. The day he visited me in detention, he swore to God that he would get into a great university, make something of himself, and give me a life of happiness. Aiden was a decent student, and with a bit of luck, he did get into a good university. To be closer to him, I gave up on the idea of retaking my exams. I moved to his college town alone, working odd jobs to support us both while he studied. The year he graduated, I got pregnant. A shotgun wedding. In those days, it was practically a scandal, a source of shame. But I ignored my parents' fury and their pleas, and with a heart full of joy, I married into the Griffin family. There was no dowry, no limo, no ceremony, not even a proper wedding reception. At this, Lily's eyes flickered. Mom, I've never heard you talk about having a baby. Was the baby given to him after the divorce? My baby? I instinctively brought a hand to my flat stomach, tracing the space where a life once grew, just as I had done so carefully 18 years ago. A bitter smile touched my lips. She's gone. She was gone before she was ever born. When I was 7 months pregnant. She was a girl, just like Lily. If she had lived, she would be in college by now. Lily's brief shock melted into a deep, aching sympathy. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me, holding me tight. Mom, don't be sad. You still have me. She pulled back slightly. But she was 7 months along. How could you lose her? What happened? I pulled my sleeve down, covering the ugly scar on my wrist. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. It happened the day I found out he was cheating on me. He pushed me. I fell and lost her. Cheating. Lily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. You took the fall for him, Mr. Finals, gave up your own future, you did all that for him, and he cheated on you? And he killed your baby? Who was she? Did you know her? Was she beautiful? The barrage of questions pulled my mind back into the autumn haze of 18 years ago. Just like Lily, my first reaction when I suspected Aiden was cheating was disbelief. The woman's name was Isabella. She was a department head at Aiden's company. She wasn't exceptionally beautiful. In fact, she was 7 years older than both of us. Lily's brow furrowed even deeper. 7 years older? What was he thinking? He had a young, beautiful wife like you and cheated with a woman 7 years his senior. I gave a small, humorless laugh, the knife in my hand never stopping its rhythmic chop against the cutting board. The memory of the moment I saw his betrayal flashed through my mind. The knife slipped. A bright red bead of blood welled up on my finger. Lily rushed to find a bandage for me, her voice thick with concern. "Mom, you're bleeding. That must hurt." I smiled to reassure her. "It's just a scratch. It doesn't hurt." Compared to the wounds of 18 years ago, a cut like this was nothing. Back then, Aiden and I were newlyweds, still in the honeymoon phase. His marketing department had weekly celebrations for successful projects, and he often took me with him. That's how I met Isabella. Knowing I was pregnant, she went out of her way to sit with me and take care of me. We exchanged numbers and chatted about girl talk. She was as warm and gentle as an older sister. I actually liked her a lot. After every party, I'd tell Aiden how kind and wonderful she was. But every time I mentioned her, he would frown. "What's so great about her? She's average-looking, has no figure, and she's 30 and still not married. If it weren't for her master's degree and her family connections, she never would have made department head so quickly. You should stay away from her. She's not as nice as she seems." I didn't argue with him, but I kept talking to Isabella behind his back, sharing little bits of my life with her. But then he stopped taking me to the parties. "Your belly is getting too big. It's not convenient," became his go-to excuse. At first, I didn't mind. But slowly, I noticed he was coming home later and later. The overtime at work became more frequent. Fueled by pregnancy hormones, I became a bundle of anxiety, terrified he was going to leave me. When I told Isabella my fears, she promised me with utter confidence, "Chloe, you just focus on staying healthy for the baby. I'll keep an eye on him for you at the office. I won't let any other woman get near him. And stop overthinking things. We really are busy at work right now. He's working late, but so am I. You don't have to worry about him messing around." I still trusted Aiden, deep down. Her words put my mind at ease. Until I was 7 months pregnant. It was the 6th consecutive night he was working late, and I couldn't stand it anymore. That night, I brought him a thermos of chicken soup I'd made myself and went to his office, my hand supporting my swollen belly. It was almost 10 o'clock. The skyscraper was nearly deserted. I explained who I was to the security guard, and he let me up. The office floor was dark and silent. Aiden wasn't at his desk, but from one of the offices, the door slightly ajar, a sliver of light escaped, and with it, the faint, intertwined sounds of 2 people panting. The sounds weren't familiar. I froze, feeling like I'd been struck by lightning. I took a few steps closer, and through the crack in the door I saw them. 2 faces, lost in a passionate kiss. I rushed in without thinking. In that moment I had no dignity, no reason. I was a madwoman, screaming at the top of my lungs. I shrieked at Aiden, demanding to know why he would betray me. He didn't offer a single word of explanation. He just grabbed a jacket, frantically covering Isabella and shielding her behind him. The look he gave me wasn't guilt. It was cold, furious anger. "What are you doing, making a scene at my office? If anyone sees this, how is Isabella supposed to face anyone at work again?" Something inside me snapped. I hurled the heavy thermos at Isabella, but Aiden shoved me aside. I stumbled backward, my body slamming hard against the sharp corner of a desk before I crumpled to the floor. He carefully helped a shaken Isabella out of the room, leaving me there on the cold ground. An agonizing pain seized my abdomen. I was losing strength. I looked down and saw blood seeping through my pants, pooling around me in a grotesque, crimson halo. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was the security guard finding me in a pool of my own blood and calling 911. By the time I reached the hospital, I was hemorrhaging and going into shock. The hospital tried to call Aiden for surgical consent, but his phone was off. In the end, I had to use the last of my strength to sign the consent forms myself before they wheeled me into the operating room. My 7-month-old fetus had suffocated, stillborn, and I had bled so much that my uterus was severely damaged. They had to remove it to save my life. I told the story calmly, but Lily's eyes were already red. She sniffled, her voice thick. What happened then? Then, my mother came to the hospital to take care of me. She kept the hysterectomy a secret and forced Aiden to sign a written promise. He swore he would never see Isabella again. Lily looked at me, her expression tense. Did he change? Change? A leopard can't change its spots.
Of course he didn't.
Just then, there was a knock on the door. Lily wiped her eyes and went to open it. Mom, someone sent you flowers. And a big box of pastries from Marilyn's bakery. She carried the items inside, but as her gaze fell on the card tucked into the bouquet, she froze. Aiden Griffin? The card read, Chloe, I thank my lucky stars that we met again after 18 years. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive the man I was. Aiden. In telling my story, I had only referred to him as he. Lily's eyes widened in disbelief, her lips trembling. Mom, your cheating ex-husband, he's Leo's father? I hadn't realized she knew Leo's father's full name. My fingers curled into a fist.
Yes.
He is. The color drained from Lily's face. Right in front of me, she took the bouquet and the box of pastries and threw them both into the trash. Then she went to her room and locked the door, skipping dinner entirely. One missed meal won't hurt her, I thought. She'll come to her senses. I left her alone. The next morning, Lily emerged from her room with puffy, red-rimmed eyes. It was clear she hadn't slept. We tacitly avoided yesterday's topic, eating breakfast in silence. As I pulled up to the school, she finally spoke. Mom, I broke up with Leo. I won't contact him again. She got out of the car, her small frame held ramrod straight as she disappeared into the crowd of students. A wave of relief washed over me. I turned the car around and headed home. But I had been gone for less than 10 minutes when my phone rang. It was her teacher. Mrs. Jiang, you need to come back to the school, quickly. Leo's mother is here. She's in the classroom, screaming at Lily and trying to hit her. We can barely hold her back. Please, you need to come sort this out. My mind went blank. I slammed on the brakes, spun the car around, and raced back to the school. When I reached the office, the first thing I saw was Isabella, a woman I hadn't laid eyes on in 18 years. She had just broken free from a teacher's grasp and was raising her hand to slap Lily across the face. Without a second thought, I lunged forward, putting myself between her and my daughter, and I swung back. The sharp crack of my palm against her cheek echoed through the office, silencing the chaos like a switch had been flipped. Every eye in the room turned to me, wide with shock. Isabella clutched her face, her eyes blazing with fury. She looked up. The moment she saw me, her expression froze. Chloe? That's right. My face was a mask of cold fury. I carefully checked Lily over, only relaxing when I saw she was unharmed. The homeroom teacher, recovering from her shock, stepped forward to mediate. Oh, you two know each other. That's wonderful. Whatever misunderstanding there is, I'm sure we can sit down and talk it through. Let's not disrupt the children's studies. Isabella's face was livid. She shot the teacher a venomous look. I have nothing to talk about with her. She turned her glare on me. I was wondering what kind of trash raises a daughter with no manners, seducing good students instead of studying. Of course, it's your daughter, Chloe. Aiden comes home yesterday, starts digging up information on you, then sneaks out to buy you flowers and pastries. That was for you, wasn't it? Seducing my husband isn't enough for you? Now you're having your daughter seduce my son. Chloe, have you and your daughter no shame at all? Her face was contorted with rage, each word uglier than the last. I had reached my limit. I stepped forward and slapped her again. Shut your filthy mouth. I am not the same Chloe you pushed around 18 years ago. You say one more word about my daughter, and I will tear that mouth off your face. Since recovering from my depression, I had been gentle, mild-mannered. I hadn't lost my temper like this in years. Not just the teachers, but even Lily, who lived with me every day, was stunned by my ferocity. Isabella, slapped twice, lost her mind. She lunged at me, clawing and scratching.
I fought back.
In the chaos of people trying to pull us apart, I managed to grab a fistful of her hair and yanked hard. She was nearly 50. She was no match for my strength. By the time they separated us, her face was covered in red marks and her hair was a tangled mess. She looked just like I had 18 years ago. The commotion had escalated, and the principal soon arrived. Once the drama subsided and the onlookers were cleared out, the principal tried to mediate, hoping we would reconcile. Isabella smoothed her hair, her voice dripping with scorn. Reconcile? Not a chance. Her daughter seduced my son, distracting him from his studies. I demand she be severely punished, transferred to another class, and forced to write a public apology to the entire school, promising to never go near my Leo again. With the final exams so close, changing classes would be disastrous for Lily's focus. I immediately refused. I don't agree to a transfer. If anyone's transferring, it can be your son. And a public apology is out of the question. My daughter did nothing wrong. You have no right to discipline her. The mediation failed. The principal was at a loss. Finally, Isabella slammed her hands on the table and stood up, her face dark. As she left, she shot me one last hateful glare. Chloe, this isn't over. I promise you, one day you will be on your knees, begging for my forgiveness. I didn't take her threats seriously. I comforted Lily and left the school. The very next day, the school issued a formal disciplinary action against Lily. They suspended her from class and informed me that, pending an investigation, she might be barred from taking her final exams. On the way home, Lily stubbornly wiped away her tears. Mom, it's fine. I just won't take the exams. I don't need a university degree to make something of myself and give you a good life. I finished typing a text message and put my phone down, glancing at her. Don't be ridiculous. She wants to stop you from succeeding? That's exactly why you're going to succeed. You're going to take those exams, and you're going to do better than anyone expects. That's how Chloe's daughter handles things. Lily's eyes lit up. You have a plan? I started the car, my voice calm. Your Uncle Mark is the deputy director at the Board of Education. This won't be a problem for him. Besides, you're not at fault. The school owes you justice. The school's sudden action was clearly Isabella's doing. She had pulled some strings. Well, if she could play that game, so could one. 18 years ago, I lost to her. This time, I would not let my daughter suffer the same fate. Uncle Mark. Lily's gloomy mood was instantly replaced by gossip-fueled excitement. You mean that super handsome guy who's been chasing you for years? I thought that was a dead end. I can't believe you're still in touch. Just then, my phone buzzed with a reply from Mark. I glanced at the message, and a smile of relief spread across my face. Lily leaned over. Is it sorted?
Yes.
You can rest at home for a few days. You'll be back in class on Monday. Good connections certainly made things happen fast. I was grateful that when I had turned Mark down, he hadn't held it against me, instead becoming one of my closest friends. With the problem solved, our spirits lifted. We celebrated by going to our favorite hot pot restaurant. As the spicy broth bubbled, Lily's curiosity returned. Mom, you never finished the story about that scumbag. What happened later? Did he cheat again? I dipped a piece of tripe into the pot and nodded grimly. Of course. A leopard can't change its spots. Back then, I was only 23, and I had already lost the one thing that makes a woman, my womb. Aiden never asked, and I never told him. I sank into a deep, dark depression. At that time, my entire world revolved around him. He was my everything. His betrayal felt like it had ripped my soul in half. After a long struggle, I gave in to his apologies and his endless promises, and I chose to forgive him. For a while, he came home on time. He would even take me for walks to try and lift my spirits. But soon, his patience wore thin. Overtime and business trips became his excuses again. My depression worsened. I became paranoid, constantly checking his phone, sniffing his clothes for the scent of another woman, even following him to work. Guided by my gut instinct and a trail of clues, I caught him with Isabella again. I sent an anonymous letter to his company's HR department, reporting Isabella for knowingly engaging in an affair with a married man and destroying a family. Aiden found out almost immediately. He came home in a rage, smashing everything in our apartment, all the little things we had picked out together. He even shattered our wedding photo. "Chloe," he spat, "the more you act like this, the more disgusting I find you." Those words were like invisible needles. They left no visible mark, but for years afterward, every time I remembered them, I would feel the sharp, lingering sting of pain. But still, I backed down. I forced myself to forgive him again. I told myself if I was just nicer to him, just a little kinder, he would eventually come back to me. I saw through his lies and his empty promises, but I kept playing the fool to save our marriage. Those days, I chewed on my life like it was bitter medicine, impossible to swallow. The resentment was a fishbone stuck in my throat. I couldn't swallow it down, and I couldn't cough it up. A liar can only lie for as long as the fool is willing to believe. So when I, the fool, finally woke up and refused to play dumb any longer, his lies became clumsy, and his behavior grew worse. The third time he stayed out all night after we had supposedly reconciled, we had another explosive fight. I lost control. I took a pair of scissors and shredded the jacket stained with Isabella's lipstick, sobbing and screaming. I demanded to know why he was doing this to me, why he was still seeing her. Aiden just lit a cigarette and stood by the window, watching my meltdown with cold indifference. The chill in his eyes, the utter contempt, sliced me into 1,000 pieces without him ever laying a hand on me. "Chloe, look at yourself," he said. "You're no different from a crazy person. Isabella has a master's degree. She comes from a good family. She's educated. You didn't even go to college. We have nothing in common to talk about. I understand you've been through a lot, but the truth is, I can't live without her. As long as you stay home and don't interfere with us, I won't divorce you." He finished, stubbed out his cigarette, and slammed the door behind him. That day, I locked myself in the bathroom and slit my wrists. Blood slowly turned the water in the tub a deep, dark red. As my consciousness faded, flashes of our happiest moments played in my mind. It felt like finally I was going to be free. But fate wasn't done with me yet.
It didn't want me to die.
My mother-in-law, who had stopped by to see her son, found me. She called an ambulance and they rushed me to the hospital. When I woke up, her first words weren't of concern. They were of blame. "Chloe, a high school graduate like you is lucky to marry my Aiden in the first place. You should thank your ancestors. And here you are, throwing away a perfectly good life, trying to kill yourself all the time. What did my family do to deserve a thankless creature like you?" She, of all people, knew the truth. She knew I had sacrificed my future to save her son. I never imagined she would one day say something so cruel. Just like Aiden, they had started to resent my background, my lack of a college degree. They had conveniently forgotten that I was in this position because of him. All my sacrifices meant nothing to them. I had tried so hard to understand him, to forgive him. I swallowed my pride, endured endless pain, and suffered in silence. But how was it that after everything, I was still the one in the wrong? In that moment, something inside me died for good. After I was discharged from the hospital for the first time, I was the one who asked for a divorce. When I said the word, he looked surprised for a second, but the coldness in his eyes didn't waver. "Chloe, what kind of game are you playing now?" In his mind, I loved him too much to ever leave. "You don't even have a job. You'll get nothing if we divorce. And don't say I didn't warn you. A woman like you will never find a man as good as me." His words were sharp as knives. The message was clear. If I wanted a divorce, I would leave with nothing. I clenched my fists, forcing down the bitterness rising in my throat. I don't want anything. I just want a divorce. And you don't have to worry. I'm never getting married or having children again. His face darkened as if he couldn't believe it, but he agreed.
Fine.
A divorce it is. Chloe, don't you dare regret this. Wait, he was the one who cheated. Why should you be the one to leave with nothing? And after everything you did for him, all the suffering, he gets to walk away acting like he's the victim? Lily was so angry, she nearly threw her chopsticks down. I placed a piece of freshly cooked beef in her bowl, smiling nonchalantly. For me, the divorce was a release. If I could go back, I would have divorced him the very first time I found out he was cheating. In the days leading up to the divorce, life had boiled me down to a thin, tasteless porridge. I had lost my shape, lost my flavor. I initiated countless cold wars, only to be the one to humbly seek peace again and again. Through it all, Aiden was an emotionless robot, watching my frantic screams and desperate pleas with detached eyes. But after that day in the hospital, I truly didn't care anymore. In just 6 months, I had exhausted all my love and surrendered all my dignity. I had run headfirst into that wall one too many times. Finally, all my resentment turned into a quiet acceptance of my loss. I dragged my broken body and shattered heart away from that marriage and never looked back. Lily's eyes were red again. Mom, you went through so much. You lost your baby and your womb because of him. Even if you were getting a divorce, you should have told him the truth. I smiled but didn't answer. She was still too young to understand. Some wounds are too deep to explain. He would have just thought I was being dramatic. Lily pouted, feeling the injustice for me. To give so much and get nothing but pain in return. It wasn't just her. Many of our friends and family who had witnessed our love story were shocked by the outcome. Maybe it was passionate for a time. Maybe we were truly in love once. It didn't seem like it should have ended that way. But in the end, it was the only way it could have. After the divorce, I moved to another city to start over. A year later, by a twist of fate, I adopted Lily when she was just a few months old. Time is supposed to heal all wounds, but memories have a way of surfacing in the dead of night, stirring up the quiet corners of your heart. Thankfully, after adopting Lily, I poured all my time and energy into her, and slowly, the pain began to fade. It's said that I raised her, but in truth, she was the one who healed me. The summer Lily finished middle school, both my parents passed away from illness, leaving me their small storefront, the product of their life savings. I had no choice but to move back home with Lily, enrolling her in the best high school in the city. I never imagined that fate would have her cross paths with Aiden's son. At the mention of Leo, a shadow of sadness passed over Lily's face. Mom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gotten into a relationship. If I hadn't, you wouldn't have had to see those two awful people again. Everyone has to grow up sometime. I pinched her cheek affectionately and stood up to pay the bill. What's meant to be will be.
Don't worry about me.
I've built up an armor of steel over the years. They can't hurt me. My attempt at humor made her smile, chasing away the tears that had been welling in her eyes. When we got home, however, she stopped dead in her tracks. I followed her gaze and found myself looking into the eyes of the boy waiting at our door. Lily.
Ma'am.
You're back. Leo looked at Lily with deep remorse, then took a step toward me and bowed. Ma'am, I am so sorry for all the trouble my mother caused. I promise you, if Lily isn't allowed to take her final exams, I won't take them either. His apology was sincere. It was clear he had been waiting there for a long time. Out of politeness, I unlocked the door and let him in. I planned to say a few dismissive words and send him on his way. Throughout this, Lily went straight to her room without a word. But before I could get rid of him, there was another knock at the door. The moment I opened it, Isabella burst in with several other people, storming into my apartment. Chloe, you shameless homewrecker. Where have you hidden my son? Her eyes scanned the room and landed on Leo, who was sitting on the sofa. Aha! What are you planning, locking my son in your house? Are you trying to make him miss his exams so he ends up a useless high school graduate just like you? There was less than half a month until the finals. Every second of study time was precious. But her reaction was far more frantic than the situation called for. Seeing my calm expression, Isabella completely lost it. You must be so proud of yourself right now, aren't you, Chloe? Ever since Aiden found out you've been single all these years, he hasn't been himself. Yesterday, he told me he regrets everything. He wants to divorce me and get back together with you. I've been with him for 18 years, and he's never forgotten you. You're the other woman, the one who destroys families. You're a tramp. The people she brought with her were a wrecking crew. They started smashing things in my home. The insults kept coming, each one fouler than the last. Neighbors, hearing the commotion, gathered at my door, pointing and whispering. Lily, afraid I would get hurt, had come out of her room to stand by my side. Hearing Isabella's words, she bristled like an angry cat. My mom is not a homewrecker. You are. You're the one who broke up my mom's marriage 18 years ago, and now you have the nerve to blame her? Get out of my house, or I'm calling the police. Her words sent the already unhinged Isabella over the edge. She grabbed a heavy crystal statue from a shelf and hurled it straight at Lily. My breath caught in my throat. I moved to pull Lily out of the way, but another figure darted in front of her. There was a sickening thud and a pained groan. Leo crumpled to the ground, blood pouring from a gash on his forehead. He had shielded Lily, taking the full force of the blow. Then he passed out. My son. The room erupted in panic and screams. I immediately pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Somehow, Aiden was notified and rushed to the hospital. When he saw Isabella sitting outside the operating room, lost and terrified, he didn't comfort her. He walked right up to her and slapped her hard across the face. Isabella, I warned you. I told you to stay away from Chloe and her daughter. Did you think I was joking? The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the quiet hospital corridor. Isabella clutched her cheek, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. But she didn't dare say a word in her defense. She just took it. Lily instinctively shrank behind me, though she peeked out to get a look at the man before her. Humph. Not even as handsome as Uncle Mark. What a loser, she muttered. I gently pushed her back behind me and walked forward, holding out the police-provided damage assessment report. Mr. Griffin, this is a list of the damages your wife and her friends caused at my home. Please transfer the compensation amount to my account within 3 days. Furthermore, if she comes near my home again or interferes with my daughter's exams in any way, I will press charges. Aiden took the paper, but his eyes never left my face. They were filled with a tenderness I hadn't seen in nearly 2 decades. Chloe, I will make sure Isabella apologizes to you. I'll make this right. And I've already decided to divorce her. We can. After our divorce, Aiden had married Isabella in a heartbeat. With the help of her family's connections, his career had flourished. He was now a vice president at his company, a powerful man in his own right. I had assumed they were a love match. I never thought that 18 years later, the woman who was once the love of his life would become nothing more than a stain on his wall. It was almost funny. I cut him off. That's your family business. It has nothing to do with me. We're leaving. Without waiting for a reply, I took Lily's hand and turned to go. As we left, I felt his gaze on me. For a fleeting second, our eyes met, and his were filled with an apology, so profound it was almost tangible. I wasn't the only one who felt it. Lily wrinkled her nose in disgust. Mom, it looks like that scumbag actually regrets it. He's going to divorce the old mistress and try to win you back. If he comes crawling back and asks you to remarry him, would you say yes? I playfully tapped her on the head. What do you think? Stop filling your head with nonsense and get back to studying. Remarry him? Never. I had learned my lesson. There would be no second chances. Half a month later, Lily took her final exams. She had studied hard and was confident. When she walked out of her last exam, she was practically bouncing, her face lit up with a triumphant smile. As for Leo, the blow to his head from his mother had caused a severe concussion. He spent the last few weeks in a haze of confusion and memory loss, and ultimately, he missed his exams. The incident pushed Isabella over the edge. She had a complete mental breakdown. Aiden used the opportunity to file for divorce. Before the court had even finalized the decree, he had already sent her packing back to her parents' house. When the exam results were released, Lily was accepted into her dream university. On the day of her celebration party, Aiden showed up uninvited, carrying a gift. "Chloe, this is for Lily. To congratulate her on getting into such a great school." I didn't take it. "Thank you, but that won't be necessary." His hand hung awkwardly in the air. Then, as if remembering something, he reached into his suit jacket and pulled out two small, red booklets. "Chloe, Isabella and I are divorced. I'm never going to have anything to do with her again. After we divorced, I used to dream about you all the time. I kept remembering how good you were to me, everything you gave up for me. I realized then that the one person I can't live without is you. For 18 years, I never forgot you. When I saw you at the school that day, I knew. The person I love has always been you." I looked into it. "I know Lily is adopted. You've been single all these years. You were waiting for me, weren't you? I'm free now. We can be together again." His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was thick with what sounded like years of suppressed pain. Every word trembled. Hearing his apology, 18 years too late, I laughed. "Aiden, you betrayed me time and time again. You caused the death of my child and the loss of my womb. What on earth makes you think I was waiting for you?" His eyes welled up. He reached for my hand, but let it fall limply to his side.
I'm so sorry.
I waved his words away. "Do you really think a simple sorry can erase all the pain you caused me?" He lowered his head in shame. The setting sun cast a golden light on his face, highlighting the deep lines around his eyes. He looked like he wanted to say more, but the words wouldn't come.
Mom.
"Uncle Mark got me a new laptop, phone, and tablet. Come see." From across the yard, Lily waved, her arms full of gifts. "From Mark." I smiled and called back to her, then turned to Aiden one last time. "You should go. There is no us anymore. Not ever again." I turned and walked away. From that day forward, our paths would never cross again. We were strangers, and there would be no looking back. The end.